this customer. It can be oral, it can be written, it can be in any form. So this is an agreement you've reached upon, you and the client, to supply or to provide a service. Number two, you have to look at what we call the performance obligation. Identify what are you supposed to offer. What is your obligation as a service provider? Now that you provide software as a service, look at this, what we call performance obligation. Look at things like platform access. You have to give this person platform access. Maybe that's one of the things. You have to set up an account, give them passwords. You maybe need to have to train them. So understand what is your obligation. That's one of the things you should know. Number three, you're going to determine what we call the transactional price. Okay, in you doing all that, what is she paying you in return for the service, for the software? That's what we call the transactional price. And at this point, know the distinctive product. If you're a restaurant owner and you're going to supply or to provide catering services at a certain event, this is where you have to know exactly what am I giving them and what are they paying. How much do they have to pay back to me? The other thing you're going to do is now to allocate. Remember, what is actually disturbing you is because you're going to receive revenue or money upfront. So you're going to have a certain bit of liability. We are going to look at this, or we may drop another video. At the same time, you're going to have some revenue, but when do you actually recognize this revenue is the question, and when do you actually have a liability is something we're going to understand. So in the allocation of transactional price, this is very key. You're going to attach the price to the performance obligation. What you perform or with the service you offer, then you recognize corresponding revenue or a portion of revenue to that. And this point is very important. That's when we have to know whether you've offered any discounts. This is a point where you have to tell us if it is a software, as for your case, is it an annual subscription? How is it? What should we know at this point? But you're going to know that before you call it your revenue, you're going to first verify whether you've actually performed the service, whether you've actually provided the service or delivered the products to the customer. At that point, we can start thinking about revenue recognition. Here, you're going to recognize the revenue once the customer satisfies or is satisfied by the performance obligation. Once you do your part, for example, a customer comes, subscribes to your software. At that point, you give them access. If they are training materials, you give them all the